there's a hole in the air where the wind blows through. A hole in the air and it looks like you. Nobody knows where you go when you go way out there. Way out there, through a hole in the air.
with songs they have sung for 1,000 years. The hills fill my heart with the sound of music. My heart wants to sing every song it hears. My heart wants to beat like the wings of the birds that rise from the lake to the trees. Bright copper kettles and warm woolen mittens, brown paper packages tied up with strings. These are a few of my favorite things. Cream-colored ponies and crisp apple strudels, doorbells and sleigh bells and schnitzel with noodles, wild geese that fly with the moon on their wings. These are a few of my favorite things. Girls in white dresses with blue satin sashes, snowflakes that stay on my nose and eyelashes, silver white winters that melt into springs. These are a few of my favorite things. When the dog bites, when the bee stings, when I'm feeling sad. I simply remember my favorite things, and then I don't feel so bad.
Every night in my dreams I see you, I feel you. That is how I know you go on. Far across the distance and spaces between us, you have come to show you go on. Near, far, wherever you are, I believe that the heart does go on.
One of the things that I envisioned for this day was celebrating belatedly Jack's 100.
We could sing happy birthday.
We can sing happy birthday to Jack 6 months later.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear. Come on, Ron. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you, dear. Warming. You'll never believe it.
There's not many 95-year-olds who can do this, Mom.
God bless you. Happy birthday.
I got it. You open the door and you're here in my heart, and my heart will go on and on. Love can touch us one time and last for a lifetime, and never let go till we're gone. Love was when I loved you, one true time I hold you. In my life we'll always go on. But there's a hole in the air where the wind blows through, a hole in the air and it looks like you. Nobody knows where you go when you go way out there, way out there, through a hole in the air.
Earlier today, our good friend David McLanahan, who's here doing the filming, Connie McLanahan died at the age of 98 and a half. She was a devoted Democratic leftist all of her life. And David just let me know that his mom passed away, and God bless her. I'm going to do a song for David, his family, and for his mom. So it's called A Hole in the Air.
Well, there's a hole in the air where the wind blows through, a hole in the air and it looks like you. Nobody knows where you go when you go way out there, way out there, through a hole in the air. She had a good life, she was the pride of her hometown, and her dreams came true like dreams will do when they don't let you down. She had a true love, as true as love will be, and their lifelines were intertwined for all the world to see. Now there's a hole in the air where the wind blows through, times that they were timeless then. And the seasons passed through window glass, and they became best friends, and the planets rolled round a great revolving wheel. Circumference of that kind of love is something to reveal. And there's a hole in the air where the wind blows through, a hole in the air and it looks like you. Nobody knows where you go when you go way out there, through a hole in the air. Oh, and if I was a raindrop and I fell into the sea, you'd know where I had gone, but you would never find me. To celebrate, and we sing to tell a tale, remembering the things we bring along the crooked trail, stumbling brilliant, we unnecessary fools. The diamonds and the tears, they all look like jewels, and there's a hole in the air where the wind blows through, a hole in the air and it looks like you. Nobody knows where you go when you go way out there, way out there, through a hole in the air. And there's a hole in the air where the wind blows through, a hole in the air and it looks like you. Nobody knows where you go when you go way out there, through a hole in the air.
God bless you, Mom.
Well, there's a hole in the air where the wind blows through, a hole in the air and it looks like you. Nobody knows where you go when you go way out there, through a hole in the air.
He asked me, want to be filmed or want to talk about a fish?
Always from, you know, they call this planet Fremont. It's kind of and so
Center of the universe.
center of the universe. So it's
So you're the role model for him.
Yeah. Look at me.
Oh my God.
It's a built-in baby.
Yeah.
That's that I do that the day she was born 5 months.
There you go.
That's the only time I saw her smiling.
Yeah. Look at you.
No,
I can start just by saying thank you for coming. Connie had a few requests for readings and for hymns, for any service that we might have for her. But we'll do just one of the readings today, and we're going to save the rest for later, the hymns for a church service that we'll have with our family on the East Coast. I can start just by saying thank you for coming. Connie had a few requests for readings and for hymns, for any service that we might have for her. But we'll do just one of the readings today, and we're going to save the rest for later, the hymns for a church service that we'll have with our family on the East Coast at some point in the future. And Connie loved celebrations of life. She loved to celebrate her birthdays for days in advance, the day of the birthday, for days after the birthday. So I think it's very fitting that she's going to have more than one celebration of life in all its forms. So her reading for today is the 121st Psalm. I will lift up my eyes unto the hills, from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is thy keeper, the Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil, he shall preserve thy soul. The Lord shall preserve thy going out, and thy coming in from this time forth, and even forevermore. And then I feel like there are always things you want to say to someone, and after they die it becomes a lot harder to do that, and you wish you could have said this, or you wish you could have said that, and most of the things I felt like I wanted to share with my mom, I had the time with her to be able to do that, and it was great, and I'm really grateful that things happened the way they did. But there was one thing I could never figure out, and she was very disappointed in me for not sharing her exact religious views, because they were pretty strict, kind of straightforward Christianity, Father, Son, Holy Ghost, and the credo that you recite in church, and I always had trouble with a lot of the parts of that, but I felt like ultimately we shared the same thing, and I couldn't really find the right words. But then David and I sorted through boxes that she and my dad had, papers and photographs and of all kinds of letters that they'd saved since before they were married. There were 17 boxes of papers, and she had said, there are a few boxes in the basement you're going to need to clear out. And then we went down there and I was like, oh my God. So it was exhausting to do, but it was so rewarding and so interesting. And in them, I found something that I felt explained what I wanted to say to her. And it was written by Dr. Henry Hitt Crane, who was a very important person to her. He was a minister at Central Methodist Church during the late 40s and early 50s, and he was very influential in bringing a small congregation to be a congregation of over 3,000 people. And it was the first integrated church in Michigan, and it was one of the biggest churches in Michigan, and it was a leader for, it was a leading voice for justice and equality and race relations, and they invited Martin Luther King to speak there, and I think it was really a unique place. And she had a unique role there in being his secretary and was very close to the whole Crane family. And so she might actually have typed this herself as a secretary, and I don't know that, but it's something I want to read. That was also read at his affirmation of life when he passed away in 1958. The key word of the universe that unlocks more barriers, opens more doors of opportunity, solves more problems, reflects more beauty, releases more power, reveals more truth, and redeems more mortals is love. Love is the fulfilling not only of the law, but of life itself. Really to live is to love greatly, wisely, beautifully. Love is not merely one of life's functions, it is life's very essence. Where there is no love, there is no life. This world and the heaven above it is for lovers. To default in love is to defy the cosmic forces and to court defeat in all human enterprises. When we love nobly, wholly, loyally, gladly, we have all the 10 commandments, moral precepts, and high religious principles operating in our hearts. We have it on the highest authority that God Almighty is love Almighty. So love is essentially power, goodness, truth, and beauty. These are the ultimate virtues, and they are invincible. He who would win the world must risk all he is and has and hopes to be on love. This is precisely what God himself did in Christ. Go thou and do likewise. So that speaks to me about who our mom was and the kind of person that I hope to be. And if there are things you wish you could say, you can. And if you want, you can say them out loud. You can share them with us. Or if you want, you can write them down. There's paper and pens over there. And put them in the bowl. That will sort of serve as our guest book. Or just write your name, that you were here. Up to you. And I've taken up a lot of time, but before I sit down, I don't know if everybody has a drink to raise a toast. We'll have some more toasts to our, I don't even have a drink, to our mother, aunt, grandmother, great-grandmother, and dear friend, to Connie McLanahan.
Yes.
Here.
And that's what I wanted to say.
Beautiful.
Like Eileen, I didn't share religion with Connie, but I found something by Pope Francis that I wanted to read because I think it really speaks to the type of Christian that Connie was. So he wrote, "Let us be renewed by God's mercy. Let us be loved by Jesus. Let us enable the power of His love to transform our lives too. And let us become agents of His mercy, channels through which God can water the earth, protect all creation, and make justice and peace flourish." Pope Francis. I also have the privilege of reading a note from Scott McLanahan, who is Connie's youngest son. And he lives in North Carolina and was fortunate to have seen her in December, just this last December, and it was just nice for everyone to be together again. And he sent this. So, memories of Mom. Given my age at the time, my earliest memories of Connie are rather vague, as I am sure she was still working for Dr. Crane. In fact, I think we were introduced in the anteroom of his office in the church, as I was really impressed with how grand it was. I was 4, maybe 5 years old, and little did I realize that the really big deal was to be Connie, rather than the imposing Dr. Crane and his private office. In retrospect, the amazing thing about Mom, as she was to become, was that she never complained about all the material things that she was denied by hitching her wagon as firmly as she did to the inveterate and unapologetic dreamer that was my father. The list of windmills that he jousted is simply too long to be recited here, but is likely well known to all present at this memorial. I also remember fondly that Mom always made me feel, and made it seem as though it was a secret between us, that I was her favorite, and that she was proud of even the little things that I achieved during our years of being together. It wasn't until much later that I realized that that was just the way she was with everyone she knew, making that person feel as if he or she was a favorite, and that he or she was doing absolutely wonderful things with his or her life. It was and is a talent not often seen these days and times, but it is forever embodied in her memory. Scott McLanahan.
I'm David, the second oldest son, and I had the privilege of helping Eileen go through all this 17 boxes worth of incredible memories and photographs and writings. And I did that to put together this video here, which is like 20 minutes long and has a lot of photographs in it, but it was really an honor and a pleasure to do that. And also, I saw a body of Connie's writings that her brother Ken put together, and I meant to bring a copy of it. It's called Connie McLanahan, A Life Well Lived. And it's mostly her own writings, and particularly focused on her life before taking on the McLanahan brood. I don't know if you all know, but I think at age 33, the mother of the first 5 kids died suddenly, and Connie gave herself to our family at age 33 or something like that. And this was an incredible gift. And looking through this stuff that I just mentioned, she really had a really interesting, incredible life. She was a very gifted person. Just look at Dr. Henry Crane, probably the #1 progressive preacher in the Midwest, if not the nation. But he was always traveling and giving lectures, and I think he went through 3 or 4 secretaries before Connie arrived, and he just dumped all this load of work on her, and she stayed with him for 12 years until the McLanahan family arrived. But so she was very gifted, you know, as a secretary and an organizer of his many different projects and stuff that he was involved in. And luckily, our dad, Jack, was also attracted to Henry Crane just because this was a progressive guy, and you know, people knew about him, so he became part of that church, and that's where he met Connie. But as I said, I'm sorry I didn't bring that body of writings, but I think we can make it available if anybody wants to go through it. It's really, you could read the whole thing in a half an hour, but it's well worth it.
Eileen, isn't your middle name Crane? Oh, okay.
Isn't Sam's middle name Crane?
Is that where it came from?
Yeah.
So, to amplify what Scott said, every one of the kids felt that they were a special one, and every time she communicated with us, she told us how proud she was of what we were doing. And just to speed up here a little bit,
You don't have to.
just looking at the last couple months of her life, all the difficulties she faced and went through with great poise and valor. When she had the final days at the nursing home, she came to West Seattle, but basically she couldn't really get out of bed or work with the physical therapy. She had 12 pills to take every day, and she knew that this situation was not going to get any better. But right till the end, her mind was crystal clear, and I wish mine was as crystal clear. Just ask Gail.
What's her name?
Or whoever.
The final time I was with her was really telling, because Eileen and I had a family conference with her doctor, who was actually an old colleague of mine for a while ago. We spent at least an hour talking about, options and so on, and she decided that she probably didn't want to take her medications anymore, and these were not like critical medications that were going to take effect immediately. She was looking at weeks or months. But once we gave her permission, she gave permission herself to stop taking her medications. She sat up, a big smile on her face, and I think the last thing I heard her say was, "Let's have a glass of wine." So that evening, the following morning she was gone. So she gave herself permission, and she was convinced that she was going to meet all the people she loved in the hereafter, and I sure hope she did.
Yes.
I'm Arnie Bergstrom and my wife Marie, and we're here as long-term friends of Jack and Connie. We were a bunch of hippie Jesus people in the early 70s. We quit school, got married, to follow Jesus, as in the book of Acts. And we were in northern Minnesota. I did some community organizing, and Marie decided, as she was working in a sewing machine factory, she wanted to complete her degree. She's from Westchester, Pennsylvania, so we decided, and I had to go defend my conscious objector status in the draft in Wilmington, Delaware, which I'm from. So we moved back to Westchester, where her parents were, and Marie decided to enroll at Cheney State University, where she took a sociology class with a prof named Jack McLanahan. And that was our first encounter with him. And it grew as we came together. But what struck us most was Jack and Connie were the first couples we saw that really integrated faith and their work together. They saw it as an extension of their faith, which spoke deeply to Marie and me. As we were young kids starting out, didn't know where we were going to go. We were just hitchhiking out to follow Jesus. And she ended up in Jack McLanahan's class. And we got to know each other. And of course it extended into intentional communities, cooperatives, the union movement, and it spoke deeply to us to see a family that had integrated their faith and the work and the calling that kept them going in spite of all kinds of difficulties and challenges. We met Eileen. The last time I saw Eileen was at her high school graduation. But then our lives took a different direction. I spent 35 years in international relief and development with World Vision and World Relief. And it's interesting that in the last years, the big area was microfinancing, cooperatives. So in Cambodia, in Thailand, in Rwanda, Ethiopia, small lender groups were started. Things that Jack and Connie were talking about back in the 70s, in the early 70s. It touched deeply with us. But the incredible thing was that when we moved to Seattle to rejoin World Vision in Federal Way, and Marie continued her teaching job, we found out that Connie was here. And Marie especially reconnected with Connie after all those years. We saw them in Michigan, and they came out to visit us in Illinois. But then there were years where we just never, it was Christmas letters and communications. But they reestablished a friendship, a relationship, just in these past, how long, Marie? These past couple years. And that connection, that bond was there. Again, the expression of your faith, that it works itself out in the realities of life. And we could see, it was just so funny, the commitment they had, Connie, in that determination. She was convinced. Marie brought our son, Joel, who's in his mid-40s, to see her. And they got on the topic of Bernie. Oh my gosh, did they connect? Joel was amazed that this woman, who was so lucid and so on fire of these issues that Bernie was bringing to the forefront, that he really identified with. And we just said, wow, here, the next generation is connecting with Connie in a way that we connected with her so many years ago. And it was that mentoring of us, of Marie and me, that really inspired us to be mentors to others. The millennials are an incredible generation. They are much further along than we ever were. And my friends at World Vision and World Relief, we just bonded because they could see in this old hippie from the 70s that you can make a life out of this. And gave them hope of all the stuff they saw, all the structure and hierarchy. There were ways that you could get by with consensus, flat organizations, issues driven, and it was remarkable. So it was passed on to us from Jack and Connie. We were able in turn to pass on to others. And her legacy, and Jack's legacy, lives on. What a testimony. What an aspiration I had to do the same to others. But her life was a wonderful aspiration to Marie and to me. So thank you for this time together. Yes.
Anybody can say anything anytime, but maybe we should just close with a moment of silence. If people don't feel like they want to talk, they can write or not. Just to kind of be in the moment, and Lynn kept them all her life and kept making new friends who were so valuable to her. So I'm grateful for this chance to meet up with you, friends and family.